speech. So I figured that we were a little bit more social, that we would talk about our speeches that we have done in the past. So
Okay.
good morning, Facebook. Look who we have. We have
Yay.
Jennifer Smith. Welcome with Wake Up with Toastmasters, or yeah, Wake Up with Toastmasters. And we have my co-host, Jean Dunford,
Hey,
who
thank you.
I think we haven't seen Jean in a couple of weeks now.
Been a while. Yep.
Yes. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
And we were just talking about Ken and Phyllis yesterday. We're talking about how to give an effective speech and what the parameters are and how to give it. And so we're Jean and I are a little bit more social and not so uh, organized as Ken is. Ken and Phyllis. I love how Ken does his PowerPoints and uh, and just talks about maybe as he's given a presentation to everyone. But I thought that maybe we would talk about maybe our first time giving speeches, or even if we gave a speech yesterday, what did we feel like when we gave that speech, and how we felt that we nailed it, or we felt, wow, I could have done better, so Jean, what do you do to prepare for your speeches?
Well, I generally write them all out, exactly what I want to say, and then I go through that, make an outline of from that of key points, bullet points, and try to do that rather than read the speech, because a lot of people are reading the speech on Zoom. But I try to have bullet points that I want to hit these key items and talk about that. It's different than when I first started my very first icebreaker speech. I was so nervous giving my first speech at the club, and just talked about myself and what I'd been doing, and that's basically what your icebreaker is an introduction of you to your club.
Yeah. I when you were talking about organized and how people read a lot when they are giving their presentations because we're on Zoom, I really, really do have a hard time memorizing a speech, especially if it's, and for our audience, we don't just say, oh, I'm going to give a speech today and pull out a speech. We do have our guide, which is our pathways workbook that'll instruct us on what speech we give. And sometimes a speech is not coming from something that we actually know. Sometimes it has to be a research speech. And that's where, when I have to do a research speech, where I actually read more than actually do the whole presentation. So that drives me crazy when I do that because I'm like, I should be able to recite it and memorize it, but I have a really, really hard time, even though if it's bullet points, to remember, oh, what did I want to talk about with this bullet point? So I do have everything written out. I think it's still the nerves of giving a presentation, and maybe when we do our research speech, like what authorization or what authority do I have to present this speech, even though I researched it and it's just coming from my research, and resources. So I do have a hard time memorizing speeches. The last speech I gave, oh, it was on it was on Talk Up Toastmasters. So, and of course, that's something that I'm really passionate about, and wanting everybody to talk up Toastmasters. It was for the VPPRs and for the presidents. And so my evaluation came back from the group, and basically I nailed it because I didn't read the speech. I had my bullet points because I knew exactly what I wanted to say.
Right.
So I think that gives a little bit of difference on when you have a research that you're going to do versus what you actually know and believe in. So,
Yeah, I try to give my speeches from back things I've done, things I've accomplished, my past, pull up things from there. But there are other things I'm interested in that I do research and learn about that I give speeches about too. So I think that's the hardest speeches are the ones that are research that I have no experience with previously. That's the hard ones to
It
do.
is hard, right? And a lot of us are in Toastmasters to be able to present what we actually know. And I think maybe as we're talking about this, the challenge is to speak what you don't know about, right? Yeah.
I think
And
that's exactly it. And
yeah.
you know, I was in a club that was a brand new club, and they were just starting out. And they were all accountants, and they all were studying at work. It was a corporate club, and they were
Hmm.
all studying this one kind of form, and I don't remember what the number of the form was. But it was funny because each one of them in turn got up and gave the same speech about the same subjects because that's what they were studying in their classes in that brand new club. And I thought, wow, a different perspective on each. Like three people gave the speech, and it was a different perspective on the same thing. It was a really great idea.
Yeah. Because, well, and that's for them, especially if they're learning something new. I'm sure it was great for the manager to understand that what this form is coming out and how people are perceiving it
Yeah,
differently,
yeah.
and the difficulties that problem more likely it was about a problem, the difficulties of them understanding that form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and then speaking of that, when we're talking about clubs and it was a specialized club, you know, for those of you who are skimming by and going, oh, what are these two people doing and what are they talking about? For Toastmasters, you don't have to just join a club, but you can create a club with your organization or with your association so that you can learn from each other and be able and grow at the same time. So if anybody's out there going, well, I don't want to join a club, maybe they're really quiet, but they want to benefit from Toastmasters, but within their own organization, that would be something that you may want to try out and give us a call. We also have, I think Ken's going to talk about this tomorrow because I really don't know too much about it, but Ken and Phyllis are going to talk about speechcraft tomorrow, where from what I understand, it's a 6 week course, and Ken will get more into it, but it'll help you decide if you want to continue to be a Toastmasters, basically, is what it is. And Ken will break it down in his little PowerPoint, right, Ken?
I was involved in one speechcraft. It was for a church. And they
Mhm.
were using all their Sunday school teachers at the church to do this speechcraft, and it was very interesting. It
Yeah.
was great great opportunity to learn about speechcrafts firsthand.
Yeah. And so just on that note, it's you learning about speechcraft, the individuals learning about themselves at speeches and how they want to move on to Toastmasters.
Right.
And just that little bit, just think of it as summer school from what I'm gathering, that you learned something and you can take it out and take away with it and just move on
Yeah.
with it. So I, I said it, people,
We need a grammarian. Where's our
yeah.
grammarian?
Oh, on the days that I am watching everyone, I'm like, oh, you need a timer and you need a grammarian. But we talk about Toastmasters and we talk about, it seemed, on the Wake Up with Toastmasters, we do talk a lot about leadership, and maybe we miss some of the points of growing as a better speaker. And that's why when Ken was talking about speeches yesterday, that's our meat, of our McDonald's, right? That's our hamburger. We do speeches. That's what we do. That's a big part of our meeting. But as we're doing our speeches, we are growing because we have those roles that will talk about our grammarian, our evaluation, if we use the word of the day. So we do have that aspect for somebody to help us along. Besides, we don't we don't evaluate the content as much
Right.
as the delivery. So for those of you who are presenting and are always on video or in front of people, it is your presenting style that we will hone in on and help you grow as a better presenter. So I work in an industry. I will tell you that it's about personalities more so, and how you can communicate with in a relationship and build a relationship. That's what my industry, that's basically all we do. The other stuff is totally learnable, teachable. And there's so many people I know that can benefit from this. So once I hear Ken's speechcraft, I think I am going to do it as an industry as a whole to maybe join us more of a speechcraft versus a Toastmaster because of the skill set, even though they are great relationship builders, are they great presenters, right? And can they benefit and be better as a presenter? My answer is yes. Right?
Practice
Practice.
is exactly what you need in giving speeches and to become more comfortable in giving a speech.
Yeah, and it's more, as we say, speeches is it's a presentation to, and I don't doubt that everybody has their comfortability of giving presentations, but what about being on it and walking out that door and saying, I killed it, I nailed it. The last presentation I did for in our industry, it was a CE class, and I walked out of there and I had so much fun. I nailed it. People were asking questions, people were entertained. And that's what, for me, that's what it's all about. And it's not when you walk out going, they didn't get it. Well, they didn't get it because they weren't capable or getting it, or did they not get it because you didn't deliver it the way that it should be delivered, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So I really, really, really think that, whether you had a group of accountants that you were working with, sometimes you think, well, what does a group of accountants need to do a presentation or a speech
Mm-hmm.
for? But when they're talking in front of their customers,
Right.
right? Uh, how you are, why you're not getting this money back or what kind of deductions, you have to have a presentation and that presentation skill set to be able to do that, right?
Yep. If you're running a business, you have to sell the business as well as sell your skills.
Yeah,
That's that's the
absolutely,
whole thing.
100%. So my sister is a pastor. If you haven't heard, haven't seen, but she's a pastor, and she gave a ceremony one day, a wedding ceremony, and I was there, and she was doing the, and this is where I actually wanted to introduce her to Toastmasters. She was doing the all right, okay, the validation afterwards. And so of course the grammarian comes up and said, Cynthia, you gave too many or said too many you knows, you understand, you got it. So you have to have that pause and maybe get their validation of I do's and do you agree versus right, okay,
Yeah, and I still have a problem with pause and leave a blank space because I want to fill it in with words,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think everybody does. So it's something you have to learn is to have that pause, and the pause is so that everybody comprehends what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're talking about something really complex. You have to give the idea and then give them a chance to absorb the idea.
The complexity of marriage.
Hey, that's pretty complex. I haven't mastered it yet.
But I I sold insurance for a minute, and that's one of the selling skills, right, that they teach you is to pause and maybe ask the question, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Versus, oh, okay, all right. But
Mm-hmm.
do you understand? Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so that maybe, that's a learning skill. And Toastmasters, we give that skill of not saying or or repeat a word of okay, all right, so and the so's, the pause, I don't know if that's just a pattern, right? And even when I try to explain to people on the phone, I do say so a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
now I have somebody that's sitting in the office with me and I hear her talking as well. I'm like, no, no no.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the basic part of, talking and giving a presentation is is watching those. But once you, as Ken talked about yesterday, once you have your speech, your organization, your body, your introduction, your body, your ending of it, once you have those organized, then we perfect your presentation. So, do you still get those butterflies? So, do you still get those
Mm-hmm.
butterflies? That anxiety when you do stand up and give presentations?
If I'm in front of a new group or a group that I don't know, of course, yes, I do. But if I'm at my club where I give my speeches and they've heard me speak before, and I know they give me all kinds of accolades, and I'm not so nervous and I do a better performance. That's one of the things I think we get complacent with Toastmasters. We go to our club, we give our speeches, and we think we're doing a really good job because we're not as nervous. But you get up in front of another 100 people and you give that same speech, and it makes a difference. You wouldn't think that a few more people would make a difference, but the more people there are, the more nervous I am about my speech.
Even on Zoom, that is so funny that you said that because I did the review, the PRM presentation review to our DEC
Mm-hmm.
committee, right? The executive committee, or was it? I don't know if it's the executive. I still get them confused, but the district council, the area director, and the division
Mm-hmm.
director, and there's what 60 people on the Zoom screen. And I got nervous. It's my presentation, it's what I wrote. And it does make a difference because you are now in your club with friends,
Yeah.
and then you have to do, and everybody's still a friend, but still everybody's watching you. All the eyes are on you, and you have to give this presentation where everybody is okay, so what do you have to say, so it's very funny to still get the nervousness. I am doing a presentation in June for my escrow association, so hopefully I can perfect it. It's me and another lady that will be doing it together, but I know that all eyes will be on me, and there's people from different areas, and maybe they haven't heard me speak, maybe they have. So hopefully I can you know learn to get rid of that anxiety with different people because of the fact that not everybody knows who I am, and so maybe that's the thing. Are there any suggestions on that? I know that when we as we talk through our clubs, and we everybody will go, oh, you'll always have, or somebody will go, you'll always have that anxiety inside. And some people believe that we have controlled that. But again, it's because there's friendships. So it sounds like you've given presentations outside of the club. Is there anything that you would recommend of getting rid of the anxiety?
Wait, first is to know your subject. Just
Mm-hmm.
be totally the master of that subject that you're talking about, and practice giving it. If you practice in a mirror, practice all the time what you want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and be prepared for questions because people are going to shout out a question to you. You know, happens all the time when you say something and they say, well, what about this or what about that? And you feel those questions off the cuff. It tends to make you a little more nervous, but if you know your subject and you're prepared, I think the nervousness does go down. It doesn't go away, but it does go down to where you
Yeah.
can manage it.
I like that advice. So
Just
my partner Kristen and I will be, we'll start practicing
mhm.
probably in March, April, so we can get this down. So
Well, that's
I'm
one of the things about Toastmasters. You can go to your club and practice
oh,
practice
that's
your
true.
speaking. And visit other clubs if you want to really broaden yourself. Visit other clubs that you're not a member of and say, "Hey, I'd like to give this speech. I'm giving a presentation for this organization, and I'd like to practice it at your club." I'm sure you'd get a position to speak in front of a new audience.
Oh, thanks for that suggestion. It's going to be basically a very interesting topic. It's going to be generic, so it won't be something that's pertaining directly to the industry, so it could benefit through others. So thanks for that tidbit. Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other things? It's about 6:23. I don't think there's anything else that I want to that we need to talk about on speeches. What do you
Oh,
think?
I'm looking forward to our contest coming up.
Oh yeah,
They're going to be in person for the first time in what 2 years.
3 years.
That
Yeah.
is going to be awesome to go and be present and enjoy the facilities and meet people and reconnect with friends that I haven't seen in a while. So I think that's when I first came to Toastmasters, a friend of mine invited me to come to a contest, and
Yeah.
that was my first experience. So if you have a friend, invite them to come to your contest and uh, talk to them about Toastmasters.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be getting those dates out probably by the end of the week. I know people are asking for the area, but we're right in the middle of the club.
Right?
B whatever B is on May 5th. And I think I'll be live. I'm not sure if I'm live or if I'm on the Zoom live in person or what. So I have to get with Jan on that. But that will be fun. One of the things that I definitely enjoyed about the contest when I first came on, this is going on my fourth year of Toastmasters, was that there's so much more than just the group that you always see. There's so many more Toastmasters and people who are involved with the association or organization in our area. And we're fun people.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of fun, and it is interesting to hear, especially when we're doing the international speeches, that it's interesting to hear what people have gone through. My son, sorry, hold on real quick. Kazan, it's on the futon. Um, but the international speeches, which is about maybe what motivates you, what has helped you grow, what experience you've gone through, and it is very interesting to hear what others have gone through and how they persevered over. And the evaluation will be the first time that I get to hear evaluation contest. So it's going to be interesting to see and hear if we can find something that's unique that somebody comes up with in an evaluation, or we're going to hear the same story. Well, you did this right, and you did this right. So it'll be interesting to hear and see that. Don't you think?
I think so. Evaluation is my favorite contest, actually.
Really?
I do. I enjoy it. It's a great opportunity to see several different presentations on the same speaker,
Mm-hmm.
and each one is separated. They're sequestered, so you get a new evaluation from each person
Mm-hmm.
rather than hearing the same uh, evaluation from several different people. So you get a new evaluation from each person, and I
Yeah.
think it really benefits target speaker to get 4 or 5 evaluations of the same speech.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I really enjoy about going to Toastmasters and presenting is it's not a whitewash. Oh, you did a great job. Everything was just so perfect. You're such a wonderful speaker. No. We get down in there and say, hey, if you had paused right after you said this, it might have made more impact. You had an impactful statement, but without the pause, you moved on. You gave us another impactful statement. We didn't have time to really bring that first one in and concentrate on what that was. So delivery is a lot of what an evaluation is about.
So for those who are, again, just coming by and going, who are these people talking? Why are they talking? Our evaluations, when you're doing the presentation, it's not to harm anybody or pick on anybody. It's to find growth opportunities, especially if
Right.
you're looking for an impactful, if you're looking to make an impact on your presentation, then you definitely will want to listen to evaluators. I think after I give my speech and all of the flutters are done and then you hear your evaluation, I am never sad about my evaluation. I want to hear what can
Right.
improve versus, well, you did this wrong.
Yeah. No.
We don't hear that. We hear how you can improve. And I challenge you. We know that you can do it this way. So let me ask real quick, since it's my first time watching evaluation contests, do we know who the target speakers are, or do they just appear and they just,
So I'll tell you a story. At this one contest I was at, we try to get a target speaker that's new to the whole in audience. So when we have a target speaker come in and give a speech at the contest, no one should have heard that contest, the speaker before.
mhm.
So at this one contest, this person gave a speech, and the guy who won got up in front of the audience and said, "Oh yeah, that's the same speech they gave at my club 2 weeks ago." Of course,
Ah,
he was disqualified immediately because he had already heard that speech and
yeah,
was unfair advantage to everybody else. So yeah, make sure that when you pick your target speaker, you pick someone that has not spoken to that group before.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that area directors and division directors know that, but
Oh yeah.
that's kind of interesting to how that's going to play out. All right. Well, it is 6:29. Do you have anything else to say, Jean?
No, nice being on the show with you, and thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thanks for joining, coming on. I was, getting ready this morning. I'm like, I haven't heard from Gene, so that's a good sign that he's gonna show up. And then I saw your text. I'm like, okay, that's a very good sign.
I'm always confused on which Zoom account we're going on, so that's my major concern. Is I'll be on one channel and you'll be on
And
another.
another sitting there waiting. Well, Ken sent out the email on that as well. So, but I can send it out again. It's on just a couple of things. But before I'm going to end this, so if you are out there watching about Wake Up with Toastmasters and you have any questions about Toastmasters, make sure you reach out, put into the comments below that you have a question, or you can reach out to our club growth director or any one of us. We would be glad to help you. If you like this video, why don't you share it with your other friends, because maybe they might end up liking it as well. So it is Wednesday. Have a great Wednesday, hump day, and we will see you next week. I will see you next week, but Ken and Phyllis will be here tomorrow, and maybe Jean and Jean on Friday. If not Jean and Jean, it will be Jean and Anita, most likely. So it looks like she's volunteering to be the co-host when
Yeah,
one of you guys aren't going to be available, and which is great because I love listening to her as well.
she has a lot of
So,
experience.
yep, she sure does. So I am going to sign off, and you guys have a great day. Hold on.